And I will tell you what, Jonas and I both were diligent today refreshing our Google searches and Safari searches for us Mac people for Nelson Peltz and Restore the Magic. As you guys may recall, that was a big website a year ago that Nelson Peltz had put up with all of his bullet points. I have the SEC filing. I've got to resend it to my computer since I had to restart it thanks to all the technical difficulties before the show started. But we're going to pull that up and talk about point by point. This is what Nelson Peltz was looking for a year ago and what has been accomplished and what has not, because that's a big ticket item.
But certainly you can say, but certainly you can say this, Valiant, is that whatever happened, because people say he made statements a year ago. So much has happened in the last year that the list of demands certainly has grown, right? So it certainly hasn't shrunk, right? There's so many extra things to add to that list since a year ago.
Where's that dividend at?
Yeah,
we're going to talk about
where's
that
my
in a
money,
minute,
Bob.
Well, that's just it. And for those of you who don't understand how this works, I mean, Disney was talking about having a dividend reinstated by the end of this calendar year. We're running out of time because it's not just a matter of Disney would have to announce a dividend very soon ahead of an X date. I will explain what that means shortly.
You think that they were going to announce a penny's worth of dividend? Maybe a
it might be a penny. It might be a halfpence.
I don't think that's what Peltz was thinking earlier.
A halfpenny?
I don't think that was on his radar. I think he thought there was more when he made this agreement with him to drop the Proxy.
I look at this picture of this man, this exhausted looking man right here, and I just think he knows that even if they issue that dividend, it is a nothing dividend. So he's just looking at them and saying,
okay, look, here's the deal. This is an 82-year-old man in this picture that has a 28-year-old daughter. He's probably doing all right. Peltz has already gotten slighted once. Right? He set this slate out last year. That wasn't met. Now he's coming back. So I'm going to pull in what were Nelson Peltz's requests for Disney in the past year. What did he want Disney to do? And that wasn't met. Right?
The first was a clear succession plan, which they said, oh, no, we've got that. We're definitely handling that. Okay, here we are. The contract has been extended to 2026.
Let's see, we've got Bob, and then Bob, and we've got a little bit more Bob.
More Bob.
More Bob.
Right, and so what they're saying now is they want a COO to come in for a little while and be the assistant to Bob Iger. And the article from Alex Sherman from CNBC that we've referenced so many times says that they actually want Bob Iger out of the company at 2026. Right now, that is not what the company's contracts state. The company's contracts state, as many times have been said by Valiant on this channel, that Bob Iger is technically there until 2031 in an advisory role. So he's going to be taking those 2 shower days until the next decade. The other was to bring back the dividend, which even if the dividend gets brought back now within the next couple of days, whenever X day is it back? Oh, wait, that's January 12th. Okay, never mind. You got me excited there, Valiant.
Or is it retroactive?
No. This is the one from last year. I know. We were waiting for a new one today, but it hadn't come out yet. So
I keep hitting refresh, and I keep looking at the SEC filings for the Walt Disney Company. They were not prepared for this today. I'll say that for sure.
No. I mean, do you want to expound on that?
Well, anything that Trian does is I'm actually kind of surprised that even declaring a proxy fight for the Walt Disney Company, they have to file that with the SEC, and the SEC then needs to put it on their website for any shareholder of the Walt Disney Company to be able to see that, because they
do have a grace period to put it. They don't have to put it on the day of, right? So it's not expected that they've got some summary up with the SEC. They've got to run it by the lawyers. There's a period of time. It will be up. Right, it will be up. It's just a matter of exactly when.
Right, but
I just hope that Bob Iger didn't have a proctology exam scheduled anytime soon, because he is full clinch mode right now, folks. Full clinch.
Ooh.
I bet he'd like a proxy for that one. I will say by the end of it, Trian, I mean, it was like 3 or 4 filings a day that were ending up on the SEC website as they got closer and closer to that annual shareholders meeting, which I never thought it was going to get better than that annual shareholders meeting here on the Valiant Renegade channel.
Oh, no. That was great. Yeah. No.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
But Disney Restore the Magic, this was from last year. So let's go through this, because this is what Nelson Peltz's ideals were for the Walt Disney Company when it came to what he wanted to see. This is why he started his initial proxy fight and then rescinded it after Disney ostensibly gave him some reason to, right? They told him, we're going to give you this stuff. And so Nelson said, all right, I'm out. But let's go back and look at what the original demands were from Nelson Peltz.
Here's what he was saying about the Walt Disney Company at the time. As of January 11th of this year: poor corporate governance, failed succession planning, over-the-top compensation practices. That's prescient. Minimal shareholder engagement, including an apparent unwillingness to fully engage constructively with Trian. Yeah, you got him there. Poor strategy and operations, flawed direct-to-consumer strategy. That's Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu, struggling with profitability despite reaching similar revenues as Netflix and having a significant IP advantage, calling them out on all fronts there. Lack of overall cost discipline. They've worked on that. They still haven't shown anything good from it.
Yep.
Over earning in the parks business to subsidize streaming losses.
There we go.
That's now a weakness because the parks are failing. Poor capital allocation. Disney's earnings per share since 2018 has been cut in half, despite $162 billion spent on mergers and acquisitions, capital expenditures, and content, approximately equal to Disney's entire current market capitalization. Disney's current market cap is less than that at the moment, by the way.
The point at which they filed, it's halved, right? Almost.
That's it.
So
yeah.
Let's
see. Management in Trian's view has shown poor judgment on M&A efforts. Yes.
Overpaying for Fox? That's understated right there. Yeah.
And then he throws in here
$72 billion. Who cares?
And bidding aggressively for Sky, right? It's like reckless, reckless use of funds. Yeah.
They didn't even get that one. And increased financial leverage and deteriorating cash flow, elimination of the dividend that had been paid for 50 plus years. Okay, so this right here, increased financial leverage and deteriorating cash flow. Cash flow is not getting better. They have more cash right now, but it is all discrete events that will not be repeated on a regular basis. That means it is not part of your regular income. That means it is something that you have done that will not happen again. Right.
Yeah.
Or not even seasonal. Like the sale, they're not going to sell ABC twice. And they're not going to sell an ABC every year.
Or in the case we talked about yesterday, they're not going to sell Disney Hotstar twice.
Right.
Which they're looking at right now. They have
selling their Indian assets, all their Indian assets.
Exactly. They've already got partners lined up for Disney Hotstar. And it's like, well, okay, you can sell that out. We made the case for why Disney should sell that out. They should. They did not get the IPL Cricket League back in for Disney Plus Hotstar. They still retained rights for broadcasting in India, which has a much bigger reach. But the problem is the future is on streaming. Now, I thought at the time, and I still do, that retaining the broadcast rights for IPL were a good move for Disney, and that paying an additional $3 billion for the streaming rights probably wasn't going to be lucrative enough to warrant the price. I think that was still right. That is why Disney is still now looking to sell off that asset. Because here's the thing, at 70 cents a month in average revenue per user for Disney Hotstar, or whatever the hell it is, 70 cents versus $6 here in the US, 1/10 of what they get here in the US. Yes, you get rid of a crappy asset. If you can immediately get $2, $3, $4 billion for the Hotstar asset in cash versus hoping and waiting with fingers crossed that you will get that kind of revenue over the next 10 years, great. Take it now. Net present value issue, right?
Right.
That's how the world works. So Disney has to get rid of that. I think they really do. I think it's a good move for them that they are negotiating this at this point. But they are going to also have to contend with the fact that the average Joe is going to look at the next quarter or 2 quarters from now when they report that, oh, Disney Plus lost 50 million subscribers. Well, it's because you sold the asset off. Yeah. But they got something in return.
Right. And they'll be able to kick the can down the road there. Well, maybe they won't with Nelson Peltz here.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah.
But exactly. This is one that I find very interesting. I recently reread Ride of a Lifetime, and Bob Iger brags. Oh man, it's amazing because I like
in retrospect, in retrospect,
yeah, always,
right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I liked Bob Iger when I read that book. I was like, man, this guy's really got it down. And the more that has come to light, I'm like, oh man, this guy is a psychopath. So what he did,
good Lord,
when he was trying to get all of these content creators at Disney, and I'm using the word content creator to talk about executives at film studios here, the same word we use for people on YouTube. I'm going to use
we're not talking about Mia Khalifa, right? So
she got fired for that one. By the way,
I believe she's now freelance. Yeah. So he knew that he could not get executives whose compensation is tied to profitability in a traditional model to buy into Hulu and Disney Plus and these $200 million shows. So he convinced the board to let him, Bob Iger, personally decide bonuses at his own pleasure, at his own whims for all of his content creation executives. So when I see this say one of his goals is to align compensation with performance, right now it aligns with Bob Iger's feeling about the executive.
Yeah, that's such a horrible business practice. Not just horrible. I mean, it's frankly a misuse of funds if you really look at it that way. I mean, to give that sort of discretion.
Well, who's at the company that they need to hold on to? Okay, Kevin Feige can hopefully still be salvaged. Kathleen Kennedy, and he dedicates one line in that book that says that George Lucas put Kathleen Kennedy in charge of Lucasfilm without telling her that it was being bought by the Walt Disney Company. He seems to indicate that she didn't know, which is hilarious to think about. And they let go of John Lasseter. Okay, if compensation is tied to performance, then I think John Lasseter was probably the one who needs to be making the most money at the company, and he's gone now. They don't have anybody there with enough power to steer the ship and do a good job. Jennifer Lee, maybe, and Byron Howard, is that the name of the guy who steered Zootopia? Along with Rich Moore, those are the only people right now at the company that I have any faith in doing a good job. And that's it.
It's gotten to the point where it doesn't really matter, though, Jonas. I mean, they're looking at things that don't make a difference from a business perspective. I mean, they're looking at what can we fill from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint. This is what Nelson Peltz is like. Look, you can have all the DEI that you want. That's fine. I don't inherently care about that. The issue is
right there.
Is it going to make money?
Right there. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. Is it going to actually make money? I mean, if DEI is going to turn the most profit for Disney in terms of an ROI perspective, then by all means, do it. Do it. But if it isn't, if we're just doing diversity and equity and inclusion for that sake, then it sucks. Look, Trian Management Group has on their website a ESG page, right? Because they're a big Wall Street investment firm. Now, by that end, they kind of have to have an ESG page just to rub the people off they need to rub off for that one. Does Nelson Peltz really care at the end of the day that that's actually a thing? No, he doesn't give two shits about it. Let's be honest. Pardon my.
They want the Valiant. They want the pride flag effect, right?
Exactly.
So it's Pride Month. Everybody puts up their corporate. Everybody takes their corporate logo and throws the pride flag on it because that's what everybody does, right?
Yeah. Trian is all good about the gay flag and everything else.
They do, but that's all they do. They do that and they stop there, right? They don't comment on legislation. They don't attack individual politicians. They're just like, yep. We support current thing, right? Black History Month, we got the fist up and whatever we got, support current thing. Everybody likes this. We're doing that, right? That's what they want to see. Look, if you're going to give it, just give it lip service. That's what every other major American corporation does. They go out there, Apple says, we're environmentally friendly. And they go mine freaking cobalt, right? Or they go, deal with plastics in Asia or whatever else, right? They do all these sort of environmentally unfriendly. But
digging out trenches for lithium. That's it.
Exactly. Like, just go do what everybody else does. Be a corporate hypocrite. Go back to that. That's the American way. Let's go back to that.
I'll also point out, Trian does not have a DEI page. They have a D&I page talking about their policies. They don't mention equity.
That's a good point. That's an important point.
Yeah, they do have equity, but by equity they mean ownership, and they mean their personal ownership.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.